All right, welcome into practice today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen here in the BetMGM studios. We got Jets-Bills on deck, but first of all, how are we in Week 10 already? This is crazy.
The halfway point, I guess, at halftime Sunday, it will be the exact midpoint for the Jets here this season. Of course, 17 games for the first time in NFL history. And it is our salute to service game Sunday. And today on Veterans Day, we celebrate all those who serve. That's the ultimate sacrifice, and their families as well.
And I think a little birdie told me that if we actually see the field, we might have some cool jerseys on there. Remember a couple of years ago, we wore the salute to service jerseys. They don't come back every year. Maybe we'll see them in a couple minutes here. But let's move on to today's headline. Let's go under center, where Mike White is back in the saddle after he played 2 drives last Thursday night against the Colts. And then Josh Johnson, of course, comes in. What do you make of this matchup now? Mike White against the NFL's #1 defense.
It's awesome. The Jets' offense is scorching hot right now. More than 30 points in consecutive games. Of course, that thrilling win over the Cincinnati Bengals. And then last week, they put 30 on the board in the loss to the Indianapolis Colts. They've totaled nearly 1,000 yards in those 2 games. They continue to move the football. Of course, unfortunately, Mike White went down with a forearm injury early in that game against the Colts, because otherwise I thought he was well on his way to another second consecutive big outing. Of course, that first start against Cincinnati Bengals, he threw for 405 yards. He had thrown for 95 yards last week against the Colts, and he got hurt on that touchdown pass to Elijah Moore there in the first quarter. He's got great command of the offense, and the decision was easy, I think, for the Jets, because Robert Saleh said, we had a feeling early this week that Zach Wilson's knee wasn't completely there yet, while Mike White has passed every medical hurdle. So he will indeed make his 3rd consecutive start in the National Football League, and a new backup quarterback this week for the Jets.
Yeah, that's right. Joe Flacco will be active for the first time. Remember, this is kind of that roster gymnastics that every team has to deal with. If you're on the practice squad, you can be elevated to the active roster twice without having to go through the waiver system or be signed to the active roster. Josh Johnson has done that each of the last 2 games for the Jets. So he's maxed out. So the Jets will activate Joe Flacco. And I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you look at who's eligible to be called up, one guy like Kenny Yeboah, right? He was only activated or elevated 1 time earlier this season. With Tyler Kroft to injured reserve, likely Kenny Yeboah will be up for the Jets. That's something to monitor. But of course, there are a lot of gymnastics. But for Mike White, EA, I was going to ask you why the Jets went with him. Obviously injury-based, but Zach Wilson is also back on the practice field.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for the rookie quarterback. You know he's chomping at the bit to return to play, but for this week anyway, he's going to run show team. So Zach Wilson, who is awfully mobile, awfully athletic, is going to play a smaller version of Josh Allen, of course, because the Jets will be lining up against the big Buffalo Bills quarterback, who himself will break the pocket at times, and he's such a threat on the perimeter. But so Wilson, he's getting healthier. We knew all along it was 2 to 4 week injury. He sustained the PCL sprain against the Patriots there in the first quarter. So this is about week 3 right now, whereas Mike White, minor injury against the Colts, back to full strength right now, and the Jets are loving where he's at. Great command of the offense, distributing the football all over the place. And everybody offensively is working really well, because consider what Josh Johnson did when Mike White went out. He passed for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All right, take a look at this. The salute to service jerseys are back. What do we think about these, EA?
They're cool. Can we get one?
Yeah, I'd like one. That'd be sweet. Yeah, if I remember last time, I think they donated them, but it looks like just the offense is in salute to service gear, obviously minus the quarterbacks. Great to see Zach Wilson and the bandana.
No,
it's camo.
Yeah,
it's
White's
camo.
got some camo as well.
We needed to zoom in, thank you.
I like the darker ones.
I like the darker ones as well. The offense definitely won that battle between the camouflage uniforms. It's great to see Zach Wilson and the bandana back on the field, but right there, Mike White with the hoodie, short sleeve hoodie, yeah, it looks good. And we'll see what he has to offer Sunday at MetLife Stadium. And if you're going to the game, you got to check out the island, because EA, Anthony Becht, Eric Coleman, myself, Nick Mangold, and Burrell. We're all going to be there at the Island live, 11 a.m. The atmosphere should be great. It should be a nice day for football. Maybe a little chilly. Get a little apple cider.
Hey, apple cider, huh? In the morning.
Yeah, well, hot apple cider.
Okay.
You're anti?
No, I just think there's going to be plenty of beverages out there. If I was tailgating, I don't know if I'm jumping into the apple cider.
Well, I didn't say what was going in the apple cider. All right, let's move on here.
It's going to be cool, though.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
You're a big food guy, so what do you think about Amber?
I think anytime you get somebody from the Food Network out to a game, right, can only behoove us. Maybe get a little tip, right? Maybe we could get maybe she'll cook us something. That'd be great. I don't think she will, though.
No, I don't think she will either, and I'm not asking.
All right, let's move on to our Jet Focus here. How about one rookie that caught some post-buy heat? That second-round pick, Elijah Moore. EA, he's had 13 receptions, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In his 5 games before that, those stats in his last 2 games. The 5 games before that, 9 catches, 79 yards, no receiving touchdowns. He had one on the ground. What's been the difference for the young player here?
Well, we just talked about the offensive success collectively. They're just getting more plays out there, so it's more opportunity for Elijah Moore. You think about what the Jets offense did. We keep on throwing numbers out, but it's really stunning. 10 different pass catchers against the Bengals, 11 different pass catchers against the Colts, and this was without number 1 target Corey Davis. Elijah Moore, he's a dynamite weapon. 3 touchdowns in 3 games now. We saw him get on the scoreboard in New England a couple weeks ago on a little pitch, and last week it was 2 touchdown receptions. So, yeah, the stats are just jumping off the page right now, and he's such a weapon. The Jets are going to continue to get him the football. And there's another guy who's been in on the mix as well, Keelan Cole. Seems like everybody offensively is contributing right now, but no surprises here. Go back to training camp, Ethan. Wasn't Elijah Moore one of the most dynamic performers out there on the field every day early in camp?
I think you could say he was the most dynamic player early in training camp before he sustained that quad injury. Really feels like he's getting more comfortable in this offense, and if you take a look at what this offense has done over the last 2 weeks, 3rd in franchise history for combined yards over a 2-week span. In 2021, 997 combined yards. The other 2, 1981 and 1985.
Well, it's a lot of years. A lot of years have gone by since you've seen that kind of production, but you're right. You said it before. This is a step up in class for Braxton Berrios, Mike White, Elijah Moore, and company, because the Buffalo Bills lead the NFL in so many defensive categories.
Right, and this offense has been on a tear the last 2 weeks, and now they face the NFL's #1 defense. So let's hear from Bills team reporter Chris Brown to give us a little preview of what type of defense is coming to MetLife Stadium.
A lot of these guys have played together 3, some 4 years, so it's just a continuity factor. And you have young players that are stepping into their prime now. Tremaine Edmonds, the middle linebacker. I mean, he's only 22 years old, but this is his 4th year in this defense. Matt Milano is a borderline Pro Bowl caliber player, and that secondary and the exploits that they can do in the pass defense is well documented. They have 7 different players with interceptions this year. It's a defense that's designed to stop the pass. So if you can buck up and play physical with them at the line of scrimmage and run the football, you might be able to put some points on the board. But this team is #1 in points allowed, #1 in total defense, #1 in pass defense. They're #1 in about 7 different defensive categories. They have been the one constant for this team this year.
Great little snapshot there from Chris Brown, EA. The one thing that caught my eye among all the stats that he said, and there's a lot of good ones, is that if you want to have success on the ground, might as well, or if you want to have success against the defense, you might want to turn to the running game.
Well, the one guy who had a lot of success against the Bills defense this season, you would say, was Derrick Henry. He went off for 140+ and 3 touchdowns. The Jets right now are getting a lot of contributions, and Michael Carter's been really good for this team, as has Ty Johnson out of the backfield. Not only is just running the football, but catching it. In fact, the Jets are one of 8 teams with at least, one of 8 teams with 5 players with at least 20 receptions. A lot of credit has to go to both of those guys right there. We saw Josh Johnson We see him right now. Mike White disappearing from the screen a little bit, but Jamison Crowder, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, and Michael Carter all with 20-plus receptions.
Jets fans, if you're coming to Sunday's game, Jets-Bills at MetLife Stadium, you got to get there early and you got to be at the gates at least an hour prior to kickoff. That way you can avoid the lines. You get right in the stadium, get your food, get your popcorn, and you got to make sure to download your mobile tickets before you get to the stadium on your phone via the Jets app presented by Fubo Sportsbook. Fans should add their tickets to their mobile wallets, and for more information, go to nyjets.com/mobile ticketing. All right, we know Zach Wilson's back on the practice field. We saw him earlier. But let's take a look at the full roster report because a couple names stand out here. And the one guy that we should really focus on is defensive lineman Shaq Lawson, who was limited in yesterday's practice with a hamstring injury. And you couple that with Bryce Huff already on injured reserve. If Shaq Lawson's not able to go, this defensive line could be kind of thin against this Bills offense.
It's a great point. You know Shaq Lawson is chomping at the bit to get out there because the Buffalo Bills were the team who drafted him. And he came up with that big interception a couple weeks ago, of course, late against the Cincinnati Bengals that set up the game-winning touchdown from Mike White to Tyler Kroft. Kroft on IR right now, getting back to the defensive line. So what are the Jets going to do here?
Oh, look, wait. They think they're mic'd up again.
Oh, okay.
JFM always thinks somebody's mic'd up.
Quentin Williams, John Franklin Myers. So John Franklin Myers, base situations, he's lining up outside. You mentioned Bryce Huff. He's not going to be back available for the Jets until at least the Houston game. So that's a couple weeks away. Where do they go if it's not Shaq Lawson? Is it a guy like Tim Ward, who the Jets got, I believe, off of waivers from the Kansas City Chiefs? He's got a pair of PDs this year. Or Jabari Zuniga, who, of course, a former draft pick of the University of Florida, was promoted from the practice squad a couple weeks ago and picked up a sack against the Bengals.
Right, well, with Zuniga in particular, the Jets would have to make a roster move because he's hit his 2 practice squad elevation limit. The other name to keep an eye on is Kyle Phillips, who was designated to return to practice. And if you think about Kyle Phillips a couple of years ago, or his last season, he hurt his ankle against the Buffalo Bills. Now he has a chance to return. I don't know the status of what Phillips is, but it's good to see Shaq Lawson having some fun with the guys right now.
He always has a smile on his face, brings a lot of juice to the table. So on the practice field, yeah, you know, he's got that hammy wrapped up a little bit, but I think he'll probably be out there.
All right, so we made it this far in the show. We haven't really talked about Josh Allen a whole lot in this Bills offense. So with that, let's go inside the film room with Brian Baldinger for a closer look at Allen and this week's Baldy's Breakdown presented by Sharp.
Hey, thanks, Ethan. I want to take a look at Josh Allen now in the film room because he does so many things that you have to be concerned about. You always have to consider Josh Allen to be a runner, even when he's looking to throw it. Like on this 3rd and 3 right here, he recognizes man coverage right now. Once he recognizes he's on the move. Now, he's still looking to throw it, but once he sees the lane and the opportunity to go pick up 15 on 3rd and 3 and keep the drive alive, he takes it. But here you go. He gets quick pressure right here. He can elude quick pressure. He's a great athlete, great quickness. But once he does, he's still looking to throw it. And on 3rd and 10, once he takes off and becomes a runner, he doesn't like to slide. He doesn't like to give himself up. So treat him like a runner, even though on that 3rd and 10, he picks up 12. Now, if he feels color coming right at him, like he gets right here in this twist stunt by Jacksonville, like once he sees this color and feels it, he takes off. But once again, when he gets outside the pocket, he's looking to be a quarterback first, runner second, and he makes that throw to Emmanuel Sanders. But in the run game, he led the Bills in rushing last week. He's a big part of the running game. Here in a read option, he's going to keep it. All right, now, right here, Dwan Smoot makes him pay for it. He becomes a runner. You got to make him pay. Get the ball out. That was a big recovery by Jacksonville. They kept the Bills out of the end zone the entire day, held them to 2 field goals.
All right, we talked about injuries earlier, specifically at defensive line, but let's talk about the safeties group, right? They're going to have to really be disciplined against Josh Allen, not take the cheese. I remember Brandon Marshall saying that my first year with the Jets, and that guy right there, number 21, Ashton Davis, well, with Marcus May out of the lineup for the rest of the season, he becomes the longest tenured Jet safety as just a second-year player.
And he's getting his feet underneath him right now. If you listen to Inside the Jets with Dan Graza and Bart Scott the other day, I believe the show aired on Monday, Davis was really hard on himself. But against the Colts, I think he did some good things. You talk about the 2 forced fumbles. When you force a fumble, you just got to get on the football as far as his fellow defenders. But he brings a physical presence. He's an athletic guy. I think you would anticipate that he's going to continue to make progress here as he goes here this season, considering all the time he missed in the offseason. You mentioned Sherrod Niesman, a guy who's very familiar with the system, and Jared Wilson as well. So, yeah, Robert Saleh always talks about opportunity and injury and moving on to the next guy and getting these guys prepared. The Jets have a big-time challenge at the safety position. Considering, man, you go back to the regular season opener, we were thinking about Marcus May with LaMarcus Joyner all season, and maybe Ashton Davis is your third safety. Things have changed dramatically. They've been juggling at that position all year.
Yeah, the Jets have played 7 safeties, and with the addition of Elijah Riley, if he were to play, he would be the 8th safety in just 10 weeks so far for the New York Jets. And with Davis, he was hard on himself, you're right, but if you go by Pro Football Focus, he led the Jets with an 81.5 defensive grade against the Indianapolis Colts.
I thought it was his best game, didn't you?
So I thought it was definitely his best game, but also he was getting a lot of slack on Twitter about some angles.
Right.
On certain tackles, I think specifically the Jonathan Taylor long rushing touchdown.
100%.
A little bit of a mixed bag there.
No, I agree with you, and Davis himself would say that he's got to make the play there. But getting back to the rush defense, such a fascinating matchup this weekend against the Buffalo Bills because they've struggled to run the football with their running backs, at least last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they weren't even attempting to run the football. And the Jets coming off a performance when they gave up what, Ethan? 260 on the ground. And to your point about Ashton Davis and the guys in the back, yeah, they have to make tackles, but the Jets can't give up so much space. The Colts were locking on the blocks, and they weren't getting off them.
Right. And with the Bills' offensive line, they've having some shuffling pieces, something to monitor before Sunday's game. And also Devin Singletary, EA, over his last 4 games, has averaged 24 rushing yards per game and averaging just 6 attempts. It goes hand in hand with what you're saying. But listen, Jets fans, how about some epic game day eats with Mekhi Becton? If that interests you, well, you got to go for madeforjetswatching.com and download recipe cards for amazing dishes like Pepsi glazed ribs. Pepsi is the official soft drink of the New York Jets. All right, it's time for our Stats Amazing segment here on Practice Today. Randy Lang, week after week, constant here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. And you know what's interesting about this one, EA? We got a rubber match here this Sunday at MetLife Stadium because the Jets and Bills have split 60 regular season games in their rivalry, which began the first week of the AFL's existence in 1960 with the New York Titans downing the Bills 27-3.
That's a crazy stat. So we got a tiebreaker Sunday at MetLife Stadium. That's very cool. The Bills definitely need this game. They're 5-3. They're hanging on to the AFC East lead by just a half a game, whereas the Jets, conversely, obviously looking for their first victory inside the division. They're done with New England, but now we get a chance to see the Bills and the Miami Dolphins on the back end.
Right, this is the first time the Jets will play an AFC East opponent not named the New England Patriots. And for more numbers, let's hear from NFL Network analytics expert Cynthia Freeland.
What's up, Ethan and EA? Happy Week 10. Here are 3 numbers you need to know ahead of this week's Jets and Bills matchup. The first number is 1. As in rookie receiver Elijah Moore became the one and only rookie this season to earn at least 75 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in a single game. Next Gen Stats shows that 5 of his 7 catches against the Colts and both scores were off of passes of 10-plus air yards. That leads me to my second number. That is 3. As in overall, 3 of the Jets' touchdowns were on 10-plus air yard passes. This is the first time the Jets have had 3 touchdowns and at least 200 passing yards on 10-plus air yard passes in a single game since Next Gen Stats has started tracking. 24 percentage points is the last number. as in Bills quarterback Josh Allen's passer rating decreases from 71.4 to only 47.4% when under pressure this season. He's also had 13 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions when not under pressure, compared to 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions when he's been pressured. This was also a major key to the Jags' upset of the Bills in Week 9. The strength of the Jets' defense is its front, so the trenches figure to play a large role in this week's outcome.
All right, great stuff there from Cynthia Freeland. All right, here's how we're going to wrap up practice today, presented by SiriusXM. The Jets' bye week in the rearview mirror. Now the mini bye week is in the rearview mirror as well. So approaching the halfway part of the season, which, as EA said, will come at halftime of Jets-Bills on Sunday for the Jets. EA, which Jet do you think is poised to or will break out in the second half of the season?
Elijah Moore, the cameras are at the right spot right there, of course. You mentioned those stats, eye-popping. 1 through 5 games this season, 9 catches, 79 yards. Games 6 and 7, 13 catches, 151 yards, and the 2 receiving touchdowns. He's a dynamic threat. The offense has taken so many strides of late. You got more plays. You're seeing them play free, fast, and they got great flow. And a guy plays free and fast as well as anybody right now is Elijah Moore.
And he's got great flow, maybe, and he's got just great swag in general. All right, so I was going to go with Corey Davis originally because he's set to return to the lineup here for the Jets, and I think that that's an interesting choice, but I wanted to stay away from the receivers. So I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to go with Jared Davis because I think Jared Davis was one of those guys where Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh were so excited that he was a part of the Jets, and Davis felt like he had a chance to revitalize his career in green and white. It was slowed down by an ankle injury suffered in Green Bay in the preseason. He's only played 2 games with the Jets. So once he gets his sea legs back a little bit, I think Jared Davis could be a real force in this defense.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see what the defense's response here is this week. You know, that hurt their pride, what happened in Indianapolis. So I would anticipate a much better effort. This is such an interesting game on many levels, but the Jets so far this season, 2-1 at home. And Davis is going to get better because, again, he missed so much time, and I think this is all part of the process of coming back. And sometimes you're trying so hard to make a play that maybe you can get yourself a little bit messed up or tripped up a little bit.
Jared Davis just took down dummy number 17. He's ready for Sunday, but do you have any closing thoughts here before we say goodbye?
No, I would say this is very interesting how everything has played out here this season, that Mike White's making his 3rd NFL start Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. But the last time Mike White was at MetLife Stadium, the fans were chanting his name. The offense has really taken strides. We've seen a flip so far this season for the Jets. The defense was the one playing well earlier in the season. Now the offense is picking up pace. Can you put it all together? Because that's what it's going to take on Sunday for you to take down the Bills.
And we'll see what happens in a couple of days. Sunday, MetLife Stadium, 1 o'clock. Jets-Bills as Mike White slides. Look good to me. Pretty good athlete there.
A great baseball player.
All right, well, he's safe. All right, that's all we have here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. We will see you Sunday, and make sure to get out to the island for Pregame Central, presented by Uber Eats.